Smart objects and shapes can be used with the apply image to create all kinds of super colourful combinations using channels, layers, as well as masks and more, PC and Mac. This requires a bit of a setup, initial setup. So go over here and I'm just going to go with the ellipse tool and shape. And I'm going to fill it with a gradient. I think gradient's a little bit more colourful. So I'm just going to set one of the basic default gradients. You can find it in the presets palette. Click there and then add the shape. Also you can set the stroke, etc. I'm going to go with that. Very basic design. Next thing to do is go to filter and down to blur and Gaussian blur. I'm just going to blur it a bit. And it will come up convert to smart object. Now that's not the end of the smart object smart filter path. So convert to smart object. And you can see I'm just going with 30. Click OK. I want this to become also the whole thing to become a smart object. Smart filter and the smart object all combined. If you do it separately, you will end up with different, and that's perfectly reasonable as well. You could create 50 layers all with different smart filters, which you can then modify individually. And you can do that anyway with this. But here, select there in the layers panel and go to layer and down to smart objects and convert to smart object. Then it all becomes a smart object. And the reason for that, I'm now going to duplicate this design. I'm going to create multiple copies of it. You can see it there. Hold down the Alt Option key and drag and just duplicate it. And I could have applied other effects, distortions, and I probably will do that later anyway. And you can see as you do that, you can create multiple copies. You can resize it, perfectly reasonable. And the thing is, these are all linked because they're smart objects. Any change to one will change all the way through. All the effects will change as well. So you can see I can resize it, I can rotate, and then you've got your design there. What you can then do is you can go and apply additional effects, but you can also use the apply image. You can use this layer with the apply image. You can use any layer with the apply image, but you can also create a new layer and you can fill that layer or not, up to you. So layer and new layer, or just go to the layers panel over here. You've got layers. If I can select it and it will select it and drag, you can just click here, little plus, and that will add a new layer, empty layer, fresh layer, and you can then add the apply image to that. I'm going to fill it, edit and fill. And I could fill it with a gradient, but I'm going to fill it with black initially. I can use all of these plus the channel information as well in apply image. So with that selected, go over here to image and apply image. I've got a shortcut, Command or Control M, makes it a lot easier. I'll be using that generally. So click there. And with that, just go here. You've got untitled. This is the source document. You could set up multiple documents with multiple shapes. So you could like have square shapes, star shapes, weird and wonderful shapes, custom shapes, any kind of shape design you create. I've just created a circle. It could easily be one you created using the pen tool, curvature tool. All those sort of shapes could be stored in different files and you can access them all via this source option, which at the moment, of course, is just this document. Got merged here. Now this is the layer 1. This is the one I've got selected. Then go to ellipse and you can see what happens. You end up getting this. Ellipse copy 7. That's the smart object. So you can just see it there. And you can go through the channels as well for that object. It's a green, blue, obviously transparency, not going to be much use, but maybe. Always of use. So RGB, you've got that blurry effect there. And it's set to difference. Click OK. Now I could also use masks. I'm not going to use masks in this, but masks are very useful as well. You can set up all of the channels, anything can be used with that mask as well. And that can be used to create great designs. Click OK. Then go again, image and apply image. And now, of course, because of difference, I don't want that. I want to go for, say, add or pin light. You can run through them, soft light, hard light. But you can also select a different layer, one of these other layers, and they're in different positions. Not all in the same position. They're all across the screen. Now, you could have created them maybe in a spiral design. You could have created them in a circular design. So you could have made a nice circular design with them all. So it doesn't have to be random, as I've created them. But it could be in a line, in a row, or columns, or grids. And just go through that and select a different one. And you might find that some of the blending modes might not achieve anything, but if you go through them, you should find one like pin light. There's one. Let's just move this out of the way. You can at least, with this apply image, very useful, you can still select other channels. It doesn't block you. So you can go through those and try out different ones. So pin light I'm going to go with, click OK. Control M, which is apply image. Pin light, hard light, you can use the same thing. Or you can go over here, another ellipse, or down to this one. And you can create infinite combinations, but you can also use channels. So red, green, and obviously you get different color effects. That will grayscale in this case, blue. Obviously there's not much blue in there, so that's why you don't see it. So red, let's just go with the red, and you can see the effect there of hard light, difference, and so on. Also, you can change the opacity as well. You can always reduce the opacity. So you don't have to have it 100%. Sometimes just put it down to 14 or 13 or 100. Click OK. Control M, go with a different one. Ellipse 6, and you can see you can build up very rapidly. And obviously, because I'm doing this in a tutorial, I'm taking a bit of time going through one by one. But you can always keep trying different, run through them. Now, unfortunately, you can see the problem here. All the names of the ellipses are 1, copy 3, copy 2. You could, with a bit of time setting up, set up names. So you could call it something else, maybe top left, top right, so you know where the design is, because sometimes it's a bit tricky. Unless you look here, you can't see the full image. So you can just go through this, and again, red, green, use different differences, vivid light, and click OK. All these shapes, or smart objects, are smart objects, and they can be changed. That's why I went for smart objects. You can, of course, select an individual one, select any of them, and then tweak that. Just go over here, filter, and then that effect will only be applied to that one. It's not applied to all the others, but you can go, say, distort and wave. Just plain, just a quick wave. And just there, you can randomize it. You can just see in that very, very small window, number of generators, 1, and click OK. And then you can see the shape has been changed in that one. When you come to use it, it will use that. You can also go to this shape and you can double click. You've got this smart object thumbnail here, double click. And you go into this, and now you can see the Gaussian blur. You might decide, you know what, I don't want to use that higher value. So you can just double click the Gaussian blur, maybe reduce it down, make it a bit sharper, perfectly reasonable, maybe rotate it so you can change the angle, and that will be for all of the other smart objects. They will all change. You can also go here, there's another smart object here as well, double click, and you've got this. And you can think, you know what, I want a shadow with that now. Or let's just go and select this. And then if you select the shape tool, select the shape tool here, you can go up to here, the fill, and maybe change. Let's just go with a different gradient. Maybe that one instead. You can change them in all kinds of different ways. Also, just go down here, effects, drop shadow, and you can add drop shadow or bevel, inner shadow, etc. You can do a whole load of different, maybe combine it with a gradient overlay, create a more complex gradient for your design. Click OK. So you've changed it here. You can also tweak the shape itself. You don't need to keep it circle. Maybe reduce it, rotate it, maybe duplicate it. Hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate that, and you can see then you can create a slightly more complex shape, and of course you can create literally thousands of other shapes, put images, etc. into this as well, and then close it. So close, save. Now you can see the blur, everything's combined there with that additional object. Close that, save. Now it doesn't update, unfortunately. Now that would be super amazing, but it doesn't update, and you can see the effect there on some of the shapes, and you can see the result there. But they've all been changed because of that. And you can double click on any of them and change them. But now you can use them. So you can go up here again and you can say apply image. Bring that up, and this time go for 3, and you can see the result there of that change. Like I say, it doesn't affect the previous ones. That would be cool, but it doesn't. So you can run through that and you can see if you go for, say, difference, go for RGB, and you can see the result there. Click OK. Do it again. Control M, and you can see the result again. And you can just run through these ones, maybe go for a different one. And you can see the result up there now with difference, and click OK. I've just been using those layers just below. But you can also use the layer itself. You don't have to just keep it on this layer. So I've got layer 1 here. This layer, I can just go up here, layer and duplicate layer. Click OK there. I can then rotate it or do other things as well, of course. Apply effects to it. Maybe go to filter and stylize and oil paint. Just blur it slightly. Go for 3.4, apply it a couple of times. Maybe recolor it, image, adjustments, levels. Whole range of different color effects and changes can be made just by doing that. Now I could go up here and just use blend modes, run through it. You can see as I do that, but I'm just going to keep them all normal. I think that's just easier. If you start going normal there or difference there, starts complicated with apply image. When you start doing difference to differences to normals, you don't know what you're going to get after a while. And you can run through this and you can see what happens. Again, it's using this layer here, layer ellipse 1, copy 2. I don't know what that one is, just down there. Again, don't have to use difference, but you can use lighter color. You can run through them. Click OK, Control M. You can also use this layer. So the layer you created, this one up here, you can go, lets me go up there, select it. Here's layer 1. I can use that. So I can go difference with that one as well. And click OK. But I can also go to the layer and resize it. Don't have to keep it the same size as it was before. Just make certain you don't go the other way. Also you can rotate it. But remember to press return. Apply effects. Maybe go to filter and distort and use the wave on that. You can see the result there, randomize. You can set wavelengths. I always think number generator is one much nicer result. I'm really not too keen on the other ones. When you push it up too high, the results are good, but I think it's nicer, nice sort of wavy design there. Click OK. Now you can't see it because of course it's below this layer. So if I go up here again, I can use that layer. So apply image again, and now you can see layer 1 there, difference. Of course I can try other ones. I can run through them and you can see you can create all number of combinations using that. Click OK. You can still use these as well as the color channels. Now you can also create some color channels as well. So some channels over here. Maybe use the calculations. So image and calculations. You can create stacks and stacks of wonderful channels, all weird and wonderful designs, which you can then use with the apply image. So again, image, apply image, and you can see there, lighten, screen, run through that again, soft light, select one of the ellipses, and you can see the result there, a difference appears there. Again, these can all be edited at any time. You can also move them, don't have to keep them in the same position, so you can reposition it. So now, you just notice the problem. As soon as you try and select it, you've got these other layers. So to do that, it's always just as easy just to simply select it and just clear them down. If you make them not visible, if you hide them, you can't use them in the apply image. It uses the one below. Very odd. I don't know why it doesn't, but it just seems to ignore it. So you can move it around, resize it. So you decide, you know what, I want that bigger. Doesn't matter, just make it a much bigger design. Apply some additional effects, filter and wave to that. Click OK, and you can distort that. Again, go here, bring them all back again, and go back to that layer. That's the key thing. If you don't go back to that layer, you'll just be working on another layer. You can do that as well. So image, go down here, apply image, and the one I just distorted, ellipse 6, luckily I can see it. You can see the result there. So you can see that wavy design applied there. Try pin light, try green, blue, etc. You can create all kinds of designs using channels as well. But you can go to these. So you can select these channels as well, these layers. So select this layer. This one's the ellipse, copy 6. Well, you can go to image and apply image. There's a problem. Smart objects cannot be used with apply image. I do not know why. It would be lovely if you could. There's a workaround, of course. Always a workaround. You can always, of course, save it, duplicate it. So just duplicate the layer. Make certain you've still got it if you want to keep it. But you can always then go down and you can rasterize it. So I'm just going to go here, rasterize smart object or layer. Just go with layer. So it becomes a raster layer. And now you can keep it selected like that. And go to image, apply image. And you can then use these ones. And let's just go for RGB up here. Pin light difference. And you can see what happens. You end up generating this design. Now, of course, you still can't see it on the screen because it's hidden by those other layers. You can see you can also add to those as well. Click OK. Now, if you want to add additional channels, another thing you can do, channels, go to the right side, new channel. Click OK, and you can see you can create now an alpha channel. Well, you can use selections with that, use many other things. But you can fill it with gradients. So I'm just going to quickly fill that with a gradient. Just using difference, just a standard gradient like that. You can create all kinds of unique designs. And that can also be used in this. So go to layers again. Make certain you select the layer you want, which is this one, layer 1 copy. Obviously the combinations I've created, it's not, I would say, the most stunning result. But with a bit of working, you can create infinite colourful designs. So with that selected, go to image, apply image again, and now you can see you've got that one there. You've also got alpha 1. Now alpha 1 is not associated with any of those layers. It doesn't know about those layers. That channel is completely separate. So you've got that. You can invert it as well. Something like, sometimes forget and end up confusing myself, but you can say difference, go through that. Screen, so you can use the channels as well with this design. Don't have to, but click OK, and you can see the result there. You can use apply image with layers, but you can also use apply image with alpha channels. So you go over here to channels, and you can see I've got a few additional ones here. They're very simple to create. Simply go down here to the plus, and you will create a new alpha channel. You can then apply brush strokes to it, shapes, but I quickly create with a gradient, very basic gradient, and you've got your design there. But with that selected, and that's the key thing, make certain it's selected. You can see there it's visible. You can go again to image and apply image. This time it's going to be using that alpha channel to build up design. So I'm just going to go with, say, layer 2. And you can see the result of layer 2. And that's using alpha 1. Maybe go with RGB. Because alpha channels can only be grayscale, you'll only see grayscale there. It doesn't add colour to it. These will all be grey. But you can see the result. It will use the difference of layer 2, which is this one up here, RGB, difference, but you can also, of course, go for red. You can use any of the other ones. So you can create some infinitely complex alpha channels. Now, alpha channels are great because you can use them as selections. So you can create a selection with this and then maybe apply layer effects with it. Maybe add a bevel and emboss to a copied layer. Literally millions of possibilities there. So you've got that difference. Click OK. And you can see now alpha 6 has been changed. Of course, you can always add another one. Go down there, click again, make certain that's selected. Again, you can fill it. Just going to fill it with a gradient, very basic gradient. Doesn't have to be. But you can then go to apply image again, and you can see merged. So layer 2, it will use that. And you don't, well, there, make certain you've got RGB there. So it uses the layer. If you've got alpha there, it will just use the alpha. It will just ignore the layer. So you can just change those. And those sometimes say that, sometimes when you change it, it does seem to change. Not certain why, because it should only be using this alpha 1. When you've got alpha 2, alpha 3, and you can see these are the alpha channels. So it will use that. And again, with difference, the blending mode difference, use masks as well. That really does complicate things. You can see now with that, again, don't go there, go alpha 4, and you can try that one. Click OK. And that will be alpha 7 now. Again, M, and you can see the result there. You can create another complex design. Click OK. That's modified again. M, click OK. And you can see just by simply changing that, applying that a couple of times, you can really create some very unusual. And of course, you don't have to keep the same alpha channel. You can always go for alpha 5 or alpha 6. Get the result there. Click OK. And that is all changed then in the alpha. None of these layers are changed. And you think, well, that's not much use because, well, what use is that at all? Just keep adding alpha channels. You can, of course, go and apply some filters as well to these. You can go to filter. Not every filter. So you can always apply blurs. So if you decide, you know, that's overly complicated, you can always just maybe tone it down a bit. 1 or 2 pixels, just blur it slightly. Click OK. And you've got your design there. That's quite a complex alpha channel. But you can always go back to the layer channel there, just the layer. And you've still got that alpha channel there. Well, now you can go to select, load selection. See document there, but you've also got all these alpha channels. So alpha 7, that was just the one we were just working on. So alpha 7 and click OK. And now you can see you've got a selection there, which is fine. You can also just go over here, edit and copy, and that will just copy from this layer here, and edit and paste. Doesn't seem like anything's changed, and it's just deselected, which is kind of useful. But you can see now you've got a layer 3, which is a very slightly blurry but still hard to see. But you can add layer effects to it. So let's just go here to effects, click there, and bevel emboss. And you can see now the result of that. Got emboss there. Let's just go for inner bevel. And you can tweak these settings, size, and you can see as you do that, you can see now you've got this lovely 3-dimensional effect, which of course you can change the angle simply by moving that around, and that will change the result there of that layer. And you can see the rippling. That's all from the alpha channel, which was all created via that apply image. So apply image is really great for creating some unusual textured design, because you could of course apply noise effects to that, or grains, or maybe go to the filter gallery and apply some of the filter effects from that to create all kinds of unusual textures to it. Once you're happy, click OK. And you can see now you've got your layer there, which in turn can be used with apply image. I have no idea what the result will be, but let's just go. Image, apply image. Now it's still got the layer effect. So you might like, if you decide, you know what, I want to just, don't want that anymore. Don't want to manipulate or work with that. I want to just go with it, what I've got. You can always rasterize it. So layer, rasterize, and layer style. So it's just converted into a standard pixel layer. No effects. And then you can just use it. Apply image. Go to image, apply image, and combine with maybe layer 2. And you can see the result of that. Maybe go with difference, red channel, alpha channel. Use the alpha channels again, alpha 7. Combine it with that. And you can see then with difference, that applied effect, that actually sort of fits nicely into all those grooves of the bevel as well. So you've got that colour brought back in with this setting and click OK. And of course you can always go to image, apply image and do it again. And you can see the result. And again, you've got that alpha channel, the alpha channel 7, as well as the bevels and emboss that were in there early. You've got that lovely effect. So it gives a real nice ripply 3D effect. Click OK. Control M, and you can do it obviously multiple times, or change the alpha channel and go with something else. Or just keep it with that, or just go with RGB, which may not be, because that's that one up there. That's not the one you want. You want, say, layer 2. No use applying itself to itself and with difference. Layer 1, copy. And you can see the result of that. Click OK. Combinations of layers, channels, layer effects, smart objects, shapes can be created, all kinds of different things. And of course, the shapes can be any shape. Any design that you create can be used. So you could create sort of crackly zigzag designs, etc. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. Things that I could do with this effect as well, please let me know. Any suggestions as well? You think, you know what, that would be brilliant. Always great to explore other areas of this apply image, as well as calculations, which I think is a pretty powerful tool as well. Thank you much.